Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Lots of views, lots of people into what we're doing here. Subscriptions have slowed down. So I go back to the trusted check on what I'm supposed to do, and they say I have to ask. So once again, I'm asking. If you don't follow me on YouTube, and I know that there are a lot of people who consume this on Facebook, I really do appreciate you guys. Go ahead, pop over to YouTube, Coach Gene Clemens. I'll put it in the comments. Just click on there, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You people who are watching on YouTube, by this point, you've been with me 10 toes down. What are you waiting on? Go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well. If you're watching on Twitter, go to YouTube, go to the channel, Coach Gene Clemens, subscribe to the channel. Great things coming along, especially with the NFL draft just around the corner and spring ball action about to heat up. There's going to be opportunities to see some things. You're not going to want to miss it. You know what I didn't miss yesterday? I didn't miss the NCAA tournament. Yep. I was actually recording a podcast with my man Klep at critics.com. Klep CX, if you don't follow him on all your social media or follow his YouTube channel, Klep CX. He does movie reviews and entertainment news. And we were doing a live review of episode 9 of Bel Air. And even while I was recording the podcast, I had the games on in the background. See, as I've told you guys a million times, I'm an NCAA nut. Like when it comes to basketball, I would say I love basketball and the NCAA tournament more than any other athletic event. The NCAA tournament is tops for me. It's probably the NCAA tournament, the Super Bowl, the NBA finals, and then like the college football jump off. That's kind of how it goes for me. So the NCAA tournament is something that I keep. If you want to go back and forth about the tournament, I know what I'm talking about. And, you know, one of the things that you end up noticing when you've watched so much basketball, especially as much basketball as I've watched, you start to understand teams and programs that are really, really good that you should never doubt. Even if they lose, you're not wrong for not doubting them because the consistency of what they do, especially when it matters, means a lot. I watched Villanova, Michigan last night, and you can never doubt Villanova. Especially in a year where there was no one dominant team, you could never doubt Villanova, and Villanova was able to get over on Michigan. They just had a little bit more than what Michigan had, but boy, I can't wait. I can't wait until Juwan Howard gets a season where he gets his full complement of kids and maybe gets some kids that he was counting on to come back for another year, His years have been, come in, get a squad. A lot of them leave, retool, reload. Some of them leave. People get hurt. He's never gone into a tournament with a fully loaded squad, but it's coming. Make no mistake about it. And when it does, he's probably going to cut the nets down. Juwan Howard's a really good coach. But he was going against Jay Wright, who I think is the best coach in the business. I think he's the best coach in the business right now, for sure. And Jay Wright had just a couple more bullets in the chamber than Juwan Howard did. And Villanova's moving on because that's what Villanova does. Under Jay Wright, they just find ways. Duke is moving on because under Coach Krzyzewski, For 100 billion years, they've just been able to find ways. Houston knocks off the number one. They're moving on. Why? Anybody? Anyone? Calvin Sampson is a really good coach. He's finding ways. Kelvin, excuse me. So when I look at these three guys, and then I look at a team like Gonzaga, who has a really good coach at Gonzaga, what he's done at Gonzaga, but there's been this stigma on them for well over a decade, is that they get into the NCAA and they fold. They get into the tournament and they fold. Under extreme pressures, they don't get it done. That's what fool's gold is. It looks good, it's shimmery, it's shiny. 99% of the time, you can have it pass for real gold. Nobody ever will know the difference. It's only under extreme pressures, someone pulling on the gold, heat to the gold, cold to the gold, water and oxygen to the gold, that we find out that it's not real. It's only when the elements, it's only when the pressures are added in that we find out that the gold is not real. And ladies and gentlemen, the gold is not real in Spokane. For whatever you might think about college basketball, the one thing that Gonzaga has been able to do that a lot of other big name programs have not been able to do is keep veterans on their team. They keep veterans on their team. They've now began to mix those veterans, those guys who have been there for 3 and 4 years, with top level 5-star talent. So if you can't win championships with a mix of good veteran talent and top-notch 5-star talent, which they've had the last 2 years in a row, how are you going to lose? I mean, how are you going to win it? If they're not going to win it this year in a season when everybody's down, where there is no dominant team, where coaching should matter, if they're not going to win it this year, then when are they going to win it? How are they going to win it? Yeah, there's an element of luck that comes into play in the NCAA tournament. But they've had it because they're the 1 seed. So as the 1 seed, as the number 1 overall seed, you have what is considered to be the easiest path to the championship. If you can't get it done when you have the easiest path to the championship, then what are we talking about here? It's fool's gold. We got to stop believing in Gonzaga. We got to stop believing in what they're doing up there. Something has to change. It's not the coach. Like, I'm not on here advocating for the coach to get fired. That's ridiculous. Mark Few's done a fantastic job at Gonzaga, but something has to change. Do we need to see Gonzaga go 26-2? Do we need to see them mollywhopping a bunch of terrible teams during their conference play, only to watch them lose to Arkansas? An Arkansas team, by the way, that struggled with Vermont. An Arkansas team that struggled through the first 2 games of their NCAA tournament. They have epitomized survive and advance. Why? Because they come from an SEC. They come from an SEC where you got to get it in the mud because there's too many good teams. There's too many teams that if you don't come to play, they blow your doors off. And because they're used to playing against all of these really good teams, because this is not brand new for them to play against all of these really good teams. They're not intimidated by Gonzaga. Gonzaga doesn't scare them. Gonzaga doesn't make them quake. They're like, it's Gonzaga. And you know what they're thinking in their mind, because this is what I would do. This is how I would tell my team. They don't play anybody. Because who's looking back at what they did at the beginning of the season when teams are trying to figure it out? That's when they play teams, right? That's the time where you see them play teams, is at the beginning of the year, when people are still trying to figure it out. They're trying to get who they're going to be into the proper mold, right? That's when you see them play. But who remembers that come tournament time? So I would be preaching to my kids, look, man, they don't play anybody. I'd be sitting there telling them, hey, we're not St. Mary's. We can score over 60 points. Hey, and St. Mary's beat them. We're not San Francisco. We don't need to try to rely on the analytics and figure out a way to scheme to beat you. No, we're just better. We're not BYU. We don't jack up a whole bunch of threes and hope that we're hitting that day. These are the teams that, and I named the better teams in the conference, by the way. I didn't even name the dogs. I named the better teams. And at the end of the day, when we look at Gonzaga, they'll be sitting at home watching the tournament the same way that we're at home watching the tournament. And why? It's because they're fool's gold. They're fool's gold. When it matters most, when the pressure's on, they fold. It has been as consistent. It has been as American as apple pie. Death, taxes, Gonzaga losing in the tournament to a team they shouldn't lose to. Last year, Gonzaga had an even better team. Went to the championship game and got absolutely bullied. Bullied in the championship game by a team full of grown men. Well, guess what? That's what Gonzaga was supposed to be. Gonzaga was supposed to be the team full of grown men mixed in with some really talented young players. And that's what they had. And they still got mollywopped. So they can't win it with the best team and the best talent, and they can't win it on a year where everybody's down and they have the best team and the best talent, then when are they going to win it? We'll just keep getting to watch them have these 30-2 seasons and 28-3 seasons and 27-4 seasons. We can keep watching them have great season after great season and keep throwing up West Coast Conference banners. They've got to be out of the room in the gym. There's no more room for another West Coast Conference banner. There's no more room on the fingers for West Coast Conference rings. They're winning it. But when are they going to win the tournament? Because that's what we care about. That's where you make legacy. Not one player and all the dynamic players that Gonzaga has had over the years has been able to elevate them and go on a run where they just go bananas for 4 games straight, 5 games straight. Not one team with one player has been able to make that run that takes them to the championship. Not one. Shabazz Napier took a team to a championship. Kemba Walker took a team to a championship. Mario Chalmers carried a team to a championship. An extremely raw but super talented Anthony Davis carried a team to a championship. And yet, we're sitting here watching a Gonzaga team who year after year come in, They come in now as one of the favorites. They couldn't win it when they were a dark horse, when they were being underseeded, right? They couldn't win it when they should have been a top 2, you know what I'm saying, top 2, top 3 seed, but they were a 5 and a 6 seed or a 7 seed. They weren't winning it then. They weren't winning it when they started getting more respect and was top 4 seeds. They're not winning it when they're the number 1 overall seed. So guess what? When are they going to win it? Tony Bennett won a national championship a year after being bounced as the number 1 team in the championship, in the NCAA tournament. They came back the next year and won a championship, scoring 61 points a game. Gonzaga is one of, if not the highest scoring team in the NCAA. And yet, last night, when they needed to get buckets, there were no buckets. When they needed to turn to one player to put them on their back, Drew Timme couldn't come out of the phone booth. Chet Holmgren couldn't come out the phone booth. This is not a championship caliber team. This is just a really fun story in Spokane, Washington. This is just a team full of dudes who play good basketball, but when it comes down to getting dirty, when it comes down to getting gritty, when it comes down to clutch time, to winning time, when it matters the most, crickets. And so another year goes by. Another year goes by, and we don't get no Gonzaga in a championship. At some point, we've got to stop fooling ourselves. At some point, we got to stop lying to ourselves. This, my friends, is not a championship program. They are not real gold. They are fool's gold. And I, myself, will treat them as such until the time they prove to be more. They've lost all equity with me. I can no longer put stock in them. Regular season, absolutely. In conference, absolutely. NCAA tournament time, never again. And if they make me out to be a liar, I'm cool. If they prove me wrong, that's great, because I thought they should be here already. I thought they should have been here 10 years ago. I'm tired of waiting. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. To do this thing a few times a week, rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, you know what to do. Like, subscribe. Like and subscribe. If you're joining me on Facebook, make sure that you are following the page. We appreciate it. We'll see you all on Monday. Peace.